go. All right, then it's that time to take a walk into the world of the papers. The headlines, the big stories are making the rounds. It's a Monday, it's a brand new week, and we have a brand new things to talk about. Some updates from the previous week as well. But the important thing is we'll bring the stories to the fore. We'll get analysis and we'll take your thoughts, contributions, opinions, and points of view as well. Welcome to the first freshly pressed of a new week, 31 minutes past 7 a.m. this Monday morning. My name is Ayokunmi, and it's great to have you join us in a new week. Hope you're ready for the roller coaster ride, as it always is, because we definitely are ready to take you on that journey. The WhatsApp number to keep up with us and let us know your thoughts on the stories: 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 is the WhatsApp number. And we're streaming on YouTube. You can find us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos is the YouTube channel to keep up with us. Leave your comments in the chat box there as well. All right. Starting the week with me to take a look at the stories are two fine gentlemen in the building. AB Bozimo and, of course, Mr. C in on this one. Good morning to you, AB. Good morning to you, Mr. C.
Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning, Sir Ayo, and good morning to all of the wonderful listeners out there. Let's make this a meaningful money-making Monday.
Good morning, AB. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, all of our wonderful listeners. Let's get cracking.
All right, let's get cracking and talking about cracking, something that has to do with the petroleum sector. As always, Daily Post is where we're taking this one out of, and it seems like NPCL can never stay out of the news. Well, they're in the news once again, as well as PETROAN. Now, the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria has asked the NNPCL, that's the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, to adhere to a 30-day timeline for the repair of the refinery. Now, PETROAN spokesperson Joseph Obele disclosed this in a statement on Sunday. Now, this comes as NNPCL on Saturday announced the shutdown of Harcourt Refinery on the basis of maintenance and sustainability assessment. Reacting, PETROAN stressed that adherence to a 30-day repair timeline would minimize disruptions to petroleum product supply. Mr. C, this part of the refinery, if my memory serves me correctly, about $1.5 billion was spent on revamping it, the little pomp and circumstance, celebrating its return on stream, and so on and so forth. In about 6 months or thereabouts, we've had two shutdowns for what they call, in quotes, maintenance. I mean, what exactly are you maintaining in that short space of time after spending so much to bring it back to life?
Okay. Thank you, Ayo. Interesting questions. So let's circle back to the last administration. The then president awarded a sum of $2.1 billion to overhaul the country's refineries. This was one of the contracts given during the usual weekly contract sharing exercises they called Federal Executive Council meetings. Now, in Port Harcourt, we must state clearly there are two refineries. There's the old Port Harcourt refinery. There's the new Port Harcourt refinery. The combined output of both refineries is 210,000 barrels per day. Now, the refinery that was initially supposedly totally overhauled is the old refinery, which does about 60,000. The nameplate capacity is about 60,000 barrels per day. And supposedly, or according to the government's records, the sum of $1.5 billion was detailed to cover this. Now, in December 2024 into January 2025, we were told it was being shut down for routine maintenance. This was a project that was supposedly totally overhauled. And when it came back, when they announced resumption of operations, I did clearly state here on this program included as one of its requirements are the premium blending spirit units, which is critical for the production of petrol, be repaired. Now, first question for NNPC, because today this is your test, your weekly test. First question, how did you repair this refinery to that amount and you then fix the PMS unit? What then exactly was $1.5 billion spent on? Take at least 30 days, and everybody's fixated on 30 days. They're refusing to read the two words that preceded at least.
So a minimum of 30 could be indefinite, really.
And going by NNPCL's track records, 30 days will not be 30 days. That's the first thing. Now, more importantly, PETROAN says the closure of the refinery should not disrupt petrol. Excuse me, PETROAN. The refinery was not producing petrol. So how is its closure going to disrupt petrol? Between the fuel importers and the refinery in Lekki, we were getting the petrol we needed. NNPCL cannot point to any of its owned refineries that has produced petrol in the last 10 years. Now, we're all saying this because of the refinery on the ground. Can the NNPCL, second question, can you tell Nigerians what is the state of the Warri refinery now? Because that has also been shut down. Question number 3, where are we with the Kaduna refinery? Question number 4, where are we with the new Port Harcourt refinery that has a nameplate capacity of 150,000 barrels per day?
I was thinking Kaduna would be like 2 and 2 B.
Now,
I want my channel.
Go.
okay.
Cool.
Okay, so, and then now where we're going with this is at the end of 30 days, if the refinery is not repaired, where are we headed to? What exactly is being maintained? They say it's a critical safety maintenance exercise. What exactly is? PETROAN has asked for weekly updates. They're not going to get it. I'm almost convinced. I will be truly surprised and pleasantly shocked if they get it. But more importantly, NNPCL now has a new management team, a new board. And there are suggestions that they should become transparent and accountable with regards to this review, this 30-day review process. Sincerely, I have my reservations about that. They will not. It is not in their interest. Now, I have more questions for NNPCL. I was waiting for the questions to load. Question number 5, NNPCL, last year, you owed about $6 billion to fuel traders in oil and gas concerning Nigeria's crude. You didn't explain how we got there. You haven't given any updates as to what has been paid down, what is outstanding. Now, the World Bank issued a report saying that the NNPCL was only paying 50% of revenues it had received into the Federation account. The NNPCL till date has refused to respond to the World Bank. If this is a company that prides itself as wanting to be like Petrobras, like Aramco, you cannot have those. Finally, where is the Minister of State for Petroleum? Forget the Minister for Petroleum. He's never around. Where is the Minister of State for Petroleum? The National Assembly that should have oversight over this industry, what are they doing? The regulators, what are you doing? Because all of this doesn't evoke any confidence in investors because they're seeing all of these things and nothing's being done. Yes, we're aware that EFCC had started investigating some of the previous heads of these refineries, but truly speaking, what are we doing?
Truly speaking, what are we doing after spending so much money? Maybe get your thoughts in one word. That's fine.
Just one word to that headline. Something that didn't work for 30 years. You want it to work in 30 days. They play. Just they play.
AB, I will tell you that miracles do happen. There can be miracles when you believe. I believe Whitney Houston said something.
As I say, they play.
All right, let's keep the ball rolling and head into the Vanguard real quick. AB, we're still talking about matters concerning issues in the oil sector. Now, this one says that 2 years after President Bola Tinubu's May 2023 decision to end subsidies on PMS, that's petrol, the federal government may have saved at least 7 trillion naira, but the unintended consequences triggered by sharp inflation and impact on vulnerable households and small businesses continue to linger. Now, small businesses already are dealing with erratic power and policy instability as well. They've been further squeezed, forcing many to downsize or even. While government revenue surged with 2024 federal account allocation committee disbursements rising to about 15.26 trillion naira from 10.14 trillion and 8.21 trillion in 2022, interventions like CNG buses and conditional cash transfers may have been poorly executed. The crux of the matter of this particular story, AB, is talking about, yes, a certain amount may have been saved, but there really hasn't been any, should I say, impact of those savings, if at all they actually were saved.
This story is one of those numbers heavy stories. It has trillions, billions, millions, and other illions. The bottom line is that the story speaks about a crisis of competence when it comes to the federal, the state, and most recently the local governments. Most people cannot fathom, cannot wrap their minds around what 7 trillion naira, what it looks like, what the impact is. That is a lot of money to have been saved. On a good day, I always say this, I was a subsidy removal hawk because the former subsidy regime was just a slew of corruption, where some people allegedly would come with an A4 sheet of paper, claim to be importing fuel, have no such fuel to import, and get signatures and get paid. So it was a corruption bazaar. I thought that was a bad idea. And at that time, in 2015, somebody else thought that was a bad idea, but the current president and his coterie all felt, for political reasons, as Fayemi has told us, they would object to it. That's history now. What this story fundamentally says is that with this so-called savings, there has been no corresponding improvement or increase in the amenities and quality of life available to Nigerians, whether it's in the healthcare sector, certainly not in the electricity sector. And don't forget, every single thing that comes from the president's mouth is we're removing subsidy on this, removing. So all these subsidies presumably have been removed. Has any element of our lives improved during this subsidy removal? This story and my lived experience say no. So it's a crisis of competence. The people in office at the federal level, starting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his committee of friends called ministers and so on, 48 or 99 of them, and the various governors and the National Assembly, there is Gabadaya, as the Hausa people say, incompetence run rife. They don't know what to do, even with those savings. You see, sometimes I want to, as of today, we might have done 700 and something, 800 and something days, 365 times 2, maybe 700 and something days before this famous 29th coming up, where I'm hearing lots of stories on television about how wonderful Nigeria has become in the past 2 years. Stories that are completely at odds with the reality. But in that number of days, committed, competent people could have moved the needle forward. And I don't care when I hear all these World Bank patting people on the back that, oh, that if a man is a fantastic operatic singer and his children are starving at home, there is not a single operatic note that they care about. They will not care. And that is what's happening in Nigeria. There are other stories we'll talk about the cost of living crisis, where people cannot even afford the things that they normally would afford to eat. So this story just actually reflects what people are living with. You say you are saving money by removing subsidy on fuel. You don't put in place alternatives. You don't put in place any options for people to do. And then you want to come up on TV and so on, and you go to France to go and assess your government. From there, you branch in London to presumably write a report. Then you come back. All this is just showing that there is incompetence in office right now. And that is the bottom line. Those in office don't know what to do or even how to perhaps account for the so-called 7 trillion or whatever that is saved. And that goes back to the NNPC story. There is no accountability. Where is that money saved? How is it being distributed if it is indeed being saved? Which sector can you show me that we have said, okay, let's pick one sector with 7 trillion, slam 7 trillion into the electricity sector, watch Nigerians improve? No. We just hear about these numbers in the shadows, but if everybody's life is worse, except maybe 500 people. I think about 500 people are enjoying Nigeria right now. Let me around 1,000, because there are 460 senators. You have their wives, so that's 1,000 people. Then you have their aides. Altogether, 5,000 individuals in Nigeria, plus the governors and the House of Assembly and National. 5,000 people are the only people who would say there was a story where they did 2 questions. I'll round up with this. They asked Nigerians, has your life improved over the past 2 years? 3% of Nigerians said yes. 97% said no. Then they asked, do you feel your life will improve in the next 2 years? 99% of Nigerians said no. 1% said yes. That 1% are those people who are enjoying Nigeria right now.
Okay, I'm only going to say one thing. I disagree with AB on only one point. AB says they don't know what to do with the money. I disagree. So AB, they know what to do with the money. They've been buying SUVs. They travel abroad, junketing all over the place looking for phantom investments. So clearly they know
I
what they're
stand
doing.
corrected. I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
Let me take a few messages before I come back to you, Mr. C. This is Tajiri. This says, I assume my carries where you believe. They play in AB's voice. I mean, 2 of the 3 vocal trinity on that particular song. It's a classic, and it worked. I had to do it, Tajidin. I just had to. I had no choice. This is from, let me see here. This is Dean Alausad that says, there may have been corruption in the former subsidy regime, but we all benefited from low prices. Now that prices have skyrocketed, how does it benefit you? I wonder, D, I wonder. Babasunde Alao says, savings from subsidy running over 7 trillion has been used to buy state governors, legislative arm and judiciary arm in order to support the president and his bid for 2027. Babasunde, were you there when that transaction was being done? Because I'm not aware of that. Were you there? Were you present? Were you at the table? I wasn't. This is Damola in Lagos Island. To AB, we are 2 years into subsidy removal of almost 50 years, and Nigerians are expecting what exactly? 50 years of rot can't be corrected in 2 years. It's time to face that reality that there's no quick fix to Nigeria's problem. I can understand that, Damola, but it's more worrisome when it doesn't seem like the needle is moving at all or moving in where it should. I mean, if you're trying to fix something and you can see clear, actionable steps.
So now let me answer that very quickly. You want to travel to Abuja from Lagos, right? At some point, you expect to be at Shagamu or Ibadan, facing in the right direction. But from the get-go, the driver is facing Badagry. Can you honestly say in your soul that the driver is still on the right track?
Questions needing answers.
Questions needing answers. All right, another question. Another question that we need to answer this morning. We're heading into the Daily Trust newspaper, Mr. C. This one, some people could end up having beef with you, but just hold on to find out what I'm talking about here. Now, once a staple in Nigerian households, beef is fast becoming a luxury few can actually afford. Now, with the price of meat rising astronomically in the last 2 years, many families have been forced to reconsider their sources of protein or abandon beef altogether. Now, market intelligence firm Report Linker projects beef consumption in Nigeria will drop around 320,000 tons by 2026. That's a significant decline for a country that has historically ranked among Africa's top consumers and producers of beef as well.
Okay. So supporters of this administration will shout to the heavens that things are better, that they're a lot better off in 2025 than they were in 2023, even if every single index used to measure quality of life has significantly witnessed a deterioration in quality. Now, remember, people have left eggs because eggs are expensive. People have left fish. Fish was expensive. Now they're leaving beef. How does the average Nigerian eat? Imagine a meal. I'm not even talking about turkey now. Turkey is for the rich people or the people who are still finding life enjoyable. So when you have your normal Nigerian diet of, say, amala and gbegiri, what is supposed to be inside the gbegiri if beef is not expensive? And do not forget, pomo still comes from the same source.
Right.
So this is a clear case of the cost of living becoming excessively high. Yes, the ministers, the supporters of government will tell you, no, it's getting better. And I'm like, no, it's not. It is not getting better. It's actually getting worse. And maybe it has its part to play in the increasing failing rates of our students who are writing exams, because you cannot completely divorce a good, nourishing diet from academic performance. And if you doubt what I'm saying, take any of these failing students, place them in a society where they eat properly, and watch how the brain develops. Watch how the academic performances improve. Now, why is the cost of beef higher? The Minister for Agriculture, Livestock Development was saying there are about 700 checkpoints from where the cows really are to the markets where they're sold. For the love of heaven, how do we have 700 checkpoints? With all the insecurity in the land, how can there be 700 checkpoints? And is this bad?
That's a lot of checkpoints, 700.
So, and the same minister was quoted as saying they could pay bribes as much as 1.2 million to clear all 700 checkpoints. Now, you don't need a rocket scientist or an oracle to tell you that that cost will be passed on to the final consumer. But beyond all of this, where are we heading? We have a national minimum wage that is not doing anything. It's dead on arrival. The Labour Congress,
Okay, Mr. C, I mean, I can understand perfectly where you're coming from in terms of the fact that meat is more or less out of reach of the average Nigerian. But also importantly, we need to bring to the fore the issue of, Nigeria being one of the largest cattle populations on the continent, but we still lag behind in beef production, ranking 6 after South Africa, Tanzania, and some other countries.
Yes, I'm even surprised we're only 6. Despite the large number of cattle we have in this country, production is tied to the purchasing power of the consumers. Your supply has to meet demand. If you oversupply, then there's a glut. And when there's a glut, the prices drop. Now, butchers from various markets sampled across Nigeria are complaining they're no longer producing the same amount of quantity of beef they would have produced in previous years, and that customers who come can no longer afford the same amount. Do not forget, the value of the naira, the real value, continues to drop every single day. So the bigger question is, how do you improve the purchasing power of the average Nigerian? How do you create an environment that is conducive enough for true economic activity to prosper? Because it's only when there's money in the pocket that people will increase their spending. It's not rocket science, but here our leaders make it look like it's rocket science.
Okay. All right, AB, your word?
2 words. One,
okay,
it's ironic to me that a country where every second market day, the headline is about farmer-herder clash, we don't have enough beef. Meanwhile, the whole headlines are full of beef. Then secondly, in the back of all this, don't forget that the Senate president said that when people complain, they will be eating. So they are not having a problem eating beef.
Okay, let me sneak in a message or two, Abe, before I come back to you. This is from Michael. Michael says, what would it cost this government to have the assessment of all refineries done by Dangote and other companies just to ensure best results are obtained? But this government seems would rather suffer than ask for help to make life better for us all. I mean, you want to allow a competitor to see what's going on in your backyard? Would you do that, Michael? Would you? Tony Marine Beach says, here we go again, like the power sector, like the energy, NNPC. It's shut down and shut off every now and then. They're only afraid to add the word turnaround to the maintenance. We're obviously back to the same cycle with this new management. Let's cut them some slack. They were just, ushered into office not too long ago at all. So let. Let's give them benefit of the doubt, first of all. He further said the president should no longer be Minister of Petroleum if this nonsense must stop. Nigerian citizens are in the middle of a very big scam here. All right, AB, let's talk about aviation. Coming out of the Premium Times, Nigeria's Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, has affirmed that the federal government will not be reinvesting in the contentious national carrier Nigeria Air, which was suspended shortly after its launch by the previous administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, this was disclosed by the minister in a statement shared on his X page on Sunday in response to an article published by the Vanguard newspaper. I mean, I would say from where I'm sitting, I mean, finally, some common sense is prevailing after the debacle of the previous administration and the former Minister of Aviation and that charade that was called the unveiling of Nigeria Air. AB, let's get your thoughts on this one.
Bottom line, I think one of the most iconic images of the Buhari administration was when that gallery of rogues stood in front of a plane and took a picture with sheepish smiles, claiming that they were opening an airline in Nigeria. That was a gallery of rogues. And I'm surprised that as of right now, they are not all in jail. Yes, I know that they are trying to prosecute Hadi Sirika, but nobody's hearing anything about it. And I'm sure that case will die in no offense to lawyers, in what's that thing called? Adjournment. Nothing will happen. Unfortunately, I think that's my expectation. I always love to be proved wrong, but the amount of money, the amount of nonsense that happened at that so-called unveiling, where rogues stood together and took a picture smiling like people who don't have the necessary mental capacity, was emblematic of that entire thing. So I'm happy to hear that the current minister is saying that will not be the case. And in fact, more importantly, he has said what the government will do instead is invest in implementing policies that enhance the efficiency of local operators so that they can grow and compete with international airlines. I like hearing that kind of thing. I want to hear that a government official and a government is doing what they can to enhance domestic capacity in any sphere at all. So I just think the headline itself is interesting to hear. It was a silly idea in the first place. I'm happy that the current minister has eschewed that nonsense and instead is focusing on making Nigerian airlines. He said one of the good things that they have insisted, and that almost all foreign airlines are now complying with his directive to patronize local caterers for in-flight catering. You know, we just think of planes. There are so many little parts. At least there's a business right now where you're coming to Nigeria, you must spend money in Nigerian companies to buy your snacks and meals. That's a good thing, in my view. So kudos to the policy. Very, very good. I repeat, if you want to put a picture of incompetence, take that picture where rogues stood up in front of a plane that was painted like lipstick on a pig, called a Nigerian airline. Meanwhile, it was an Ethiopian airline, and everybody knew. Because I remember one of these online bloggers showed us you can go online and see which airline is flying. It was an Ethiopian Airlines flight. But some people wanted to tell us in Nigeria because they don't know even Nigerians have internet access. I think they forgot that. Rubbish.
All right, let me rush through your messages real quickly. Ajay Ololiluwa says, it's a shame that NNPCL is once again talking of shutting down the Port Harcourt Refinery for repairs, even as no petrol has been produced since the supposed reopening of the refinery. Maintenance or repairs, maintenance, Ajay, that's what they said. Nigeria would have continued to rely on imported is that certain individuals should be, as a matter of urgency, be jailed without trial. I remember Mr. C stating clearly that the refinery isn't working, but many parliamentarians castigated him that he's anti-progressive. Now, millions of dollars down drain. Is it humans that collected the money? Where is EFCC and ICPC? This is not. Is this not daylight in quotes? Yahoo. May God bless Nigeria. May God bless Nigeria indeed. Jerry says, I like the title given the gathering of our government officials, contract sharing exercises. You are truly exonerated. They were not producing fuel. Where's the money saved from subsidy removal? They should stop deceiving themselves. If you can do what you said you could do better, integrity suggests that you resign. Not one thing you boasted about have you successfully achieved. Okie dokes. Ibrahim Zakari says, we've been scammed again, but this present administration nailed the coffin. My heart bleeds for this country. Our leaders are simply insensitive to the living conditions of the people. We are joking with doomsday and sitting on kegs of gunpowder. Let me see here. Adiwali says they just asked the whereabouts of the subsidy removal savings, but some people are giving excuses for the government. The truth is staring at us, but we ignore. What a shame. Fabian Nepes says about $1.1 billion, 1.5 actually, was reportedly used to service the refineries, not service, to turn around, to revamp. Let's use the right words. Yet they remain moribund. I was one of those who disagreed with your analysts back then regarding subsidy removal, as I believe this would happen. There's nothing new under the sun. So, as the lack of accountability continues and corruption increases, we should do the needful when the time comes, or continue to dance to the music. I really wish I knew what beat the music actually was. This is Damilola in Lagos Island says to AB, sell the refineries and end the corruption of maintenance projects. Government has no business running a refinery when they are incapable of doing so.
I have a quick question for Damilola. Damilola, if you had the resources, would you buy any of those refineries?
That's a good question. It's been a morning of a lot of questions. This is Oladapo Fadaonsi on YouTube says, this merry-go-round atrocities concerning crude oil should be curtailed and controlled. Where did the idea of being president and petroleum minister actually emanate from? Like I said, it's been the morning of a lot of questions. We don't have all the answers, but we continue to ask the questions and probe and probe and probe. Thank you so much for all the messages. AB, Mr. C, thank you so much for making it a magnificent money-making Monday on Freshly Pressed.
Thank you again. It's great to join you. It's a pity to have these kind of stories because they just do not give a good picture of what Nigeria is and can be. The incompetence that is reigning in Nigeria right now is a net loss for all of us. We need to do better. We need to have better leadership at all levels. We say we're saving money, but nobody is feeling the impact. You're right, Mr. C. A few people, 5,000 of them total, are enjoying this 7+ trillion naira, sadly. Have a great week ahead, no matter what.
Okay, so my parting thoughts this morning, let's all repent of the shenanigans we're involved in, and we will start to prosper. And as we start to prosper, the land will be healed. So let's start do a complete turnaround. Let's change the way we do things, and we will start to see progress. Have a great week ahead.
Let's turn things around. Definitely not the way the refineries were turned around. Let's do even better. Keep it tuned to Smooth 98.1 and the Smooth Breakfast. 8:50 and take a walk into the locker room. 10 days in. It's going to be a recap of great sporting action over the weekend. That's what that jibe. Let's turn things around.